allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for
which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay, first agenda item. Let's see, participants who's in the crowd. First agenda item, public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment? Okay.
No.
Take that as a no. Second agenda item, approval of minutes. Why don't we start with the minutes from the regular meeting of October 12th?
There was no correspondence.
Say again?
There was no correspondence either.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. As the minutes for the October 12th meeting were distributed with edit, entertain a motion to accept the minutes as so amended.
So moved.
Got a second? All right, we got Karen on a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? And no abstentions. Okay. Next, the minutes for the special meeting of Tuesday, October 26th. Also, since these were distributed in advance, entertain a motion to accept as submitted.
So moved.
And a second. Delene.
Yep, a second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next agenda item is the consideration of the calendar year 2022 regular meeting schedule. I take it, Dion, this is just the regular rhythm, the second Tuesday of each month?
Yes.
Okay. Entertain a motion to accept the regular meeting schedule for the calendar year 2022 as submitted.
And Bob, I would like to say I did put 7 p.m. at the Bethel Municipal Center meeting room A. We don't know, we don't know what it's going to look like as far as Zoom or hybrid or any of that. So none of that's included. It's just got the dates and the time.
Okay. All right. Any further? I think we have well, do we have a motion? Did somebody accept the motion? No. I don't recall.
I'll make a motion, Bob.
Okay, Nick made the motion.
So Nick makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion to accept the regular meeting schedule for calendar year 2022, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Continuing down the agenda, consideration of the uniform purchasing policy. Brad, do you want to give us some background on that, please?
Sure. So our auditors informed us that we need to add a uniform purchase policy for the town. Otherwise, they need to do a lot more testing for the Fed and state audit at the year end. Pretty much what this is the Feds and the state telling you what you have to do if you're taking their money. Is pretty much the gist of it. So if we don't approve this meeting, this policy, then we still have to abide by it to use the federal money, and the auditors have to do more testing at year end.
Brad, is the policy something that you've already, or the steps of the policy something that you already have in place?
Some of them are stuff that we've done in the past. I think the state had guidance years ago that all things being considered, you need to give extra, like if you're using a rubric to do your bid results, you have to give extra credit for women or minority owned businesses. It talks about a $75,000 limit for bidding. Obviously our local charter says 50,000. So we'd still be able to use the local charter when it's local money.
I guess my question is, right, we approve the adoption of the uniform purchasing policy. The question is, do you think that's a policy that you can implement?
Yes. It's going to go to the purchasing agent tomorrow, and she's going to study it and know all the guidelines so that we make sure we follow them specifically or especially when we're using federal or state money.
Got it.
So Brad, you don't see any problem with any restrictions on the federal guidelines versus what we have currently?
I don't like the restrictions, but it's their money, so they kind of get to dictate how we spend it.
Okay.
We would still be able to use bid waivers and stuff like that. If we were using capital non-recurring money, we'd still be able to do that stuff. But when it comes to like ARPA money, you're going to have to follow their guidelines. Otherwise, they're not going to be happy with you.
Brad?
Yes.
So what sort of restrictions stick out to you? I mean, that you don't like?
I'd have to go through it again. I read it initially when the auditor gave it to me 2 months ago. I just don't like any restrictions that are on top of our charter. I feel like we do a pretty good job of making sure we follow our local ordinances, and
right.
To be told to be given additional guidance, even if it's not bad things, I don't like any kind of restrictions.
Right, I hear you.
It's
so
more
you're saying
unfunded mandates to a certain degree.
Right, so you're saying that if we don't vote on it, we still have to adhere to it. If we don't.
Yeah, so if the board does not approve it, it just means we still have to follow it, and it means that the auditors need to do more testing at year end. So it will cost us more money because they have to do more testing.
When you say testing, what does it mean? I'm not sure what that means, testing.
So when you're doing a year-end audit and the auditors test how you spent the federal money, they might have to pull 10 samples of how invoices and the bids and that stuff. It might go to 25. Nothing that's too crazy, them having to do more testing, but more testing means more hours, which means more billings.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to accept the uniform guidance as provided by the federal government and in this document.
Do we have a second?
Is it the state government or the federal government?
Federal.
It's the state, the statute that's in there that's references is right from the state statute, because the state acts as a pass-through for most of the federal grants.
Gotcha.
We don't get any money directly from the feds. It all comes through the state.
Brad, what's the main difference between this and what our charter states?
There's a couple things like it's actually more lenient in the fact that it's 75,000 instead of 50,000. I have it sitting on my desk, which I was not able to get back to because 84 being shut down. So I don't have it right. Oh, I do have it right here. I'd have to go through it. I know when Marty reviewed it, he hated it too because of the restrictions. It's just more restrictions. Like bonding requirements are in here, contract provisions that you need to put in there. Most of the things aren't bad. They're just annoying that they're extra steps that you have to do. Or extra language.
Anything like that in the language, no prevailing wages or anything like that? No. It's just is just you need to purchase something via a grant, Brad?
Yeah. If you're using the federal money for it. I would love if it got rid of prevailing wages. It'd be excellent if it did that.
Yeah.
Brad, is this retroactive for any monies we've already spent, or is this now going forward?
I'm not sure because you had to. It's like if you look at the top of it, it talks about the Code of Federal Regulations, and it says the sections in there. this includes federally funded projects that are passed through the state of Connecticut. We probably had to abide by it, whether we pass it or not. It's just a matter of whether or not you need the extra testing. So I assume it added in the last year or so because he brought it to me this year, the auditor.
So this rule just came into effect in the past year because, I mean, really, if we've been accepting federal money, there'd be no difference. I mean, it's kind of, we've been doing it all along, right?
Yeah, I would have to look at the sections in the regulation to see when it was enacted. It might just mean that the requirements on the audit got more restrictive if you haven't passed it in the last year. So I'd have to really look at that.
And just to clarify, right, Brad, that's what this is all about. It's an attempt to save the town some money on the audit fee. It's just,
yes.
you adopt the policy, and therefore, like the auditors do with a lot of things, they'll confirm certain pieces of information, certain factual representations. They'll confirm with you that you are applying the policy, and therefore they'll do a more kind of streamlined audit.
Yes, you have to abide by it, whether we pass this or not. You're right. It saves us audit time by having say that we have voted on this policy.
Well, it's streamlined, having it be a preventive view. You know, for possible.
Brad,
and it does.
Does this include the school also side? This policy that we're ready to approve?
I didn't ask him that specifically, but a lot of the like biddable projects are town projects that are federal funds, like the schools, like that's state funds, but you know what I mean? Like a lot of their funds go towards programs. So I'm not sure if it still applies to that.
Terry, do you know? Terry's in the building.
I don't know, Brad, but I would say if the Board of Finance passes it, you could just give me a copy and we would abide by it also, because we may have some capital projects in the ESSER funds.
Yeah, will do, Terry. And the Board of Selectmen have voted on it too, because they are part of our purchasing team.
Brad, did Marty review this? He was okay with it?
Yeah, Marty was mad that the state's making us do it, but he said it is what it is. What are you going to do about it? And he did talk to Joe Sinafani, who's the partner with our auditing firm, confirming exactly what we talked about, that you have to abide by it either way. It's just a matter of whether or not you have to pay more for your audit because it takes them longer.
Did you get a second yet?
No.
I'll second it.
All right, so we've got a motion made by Robert, seconded by Nick. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor of approving, the uniform purchasing policy, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, I believe that is unanimous. Next on the agenda, consideration of capital non-recurring items. I'll turn it over to Matt, and I think, Matt, you'll probably coordinate with the chiefs. I think I heard the chiefs' voices.
Yes, they are here. There are two items that we would like to put before the Board of Finance tonight. These were both approved by the Fire Commission, requested by both of one request from Stony Hill, one from Bethel Fire, and they were both approved by the Board of Selectmen at their last meeting on November 2nd. These are both capital items to be paid from recommended capital non-recurring, but that of course is up to the Board of Finance. I'm going to go with Stony Hill first. This is a quote that you have in your packet from the Firematic Supply Company for a set of hydraulic rescue equipment. There's a cutter, a spreader, and ram package with batteries and chargers. And this is an amount not to exceed $41,965. The second item is for Bethel Fire Department. This is turnout gear. The good news is they're getting, thanks to the heavy recruiting efforts, they're getting new members signing up, coming into training. So there's a need for additional supplies for them. And that amount, 14 sets of complete sets of turnout gear for $49,574. So you probably want to take those individually, but I would recommend the Stony Hill first, and then turn the floor over to Chief Baker. Do you have any other comments?
Yeah, this is a great opportunity to upgrade the equipment on the rescue. The tools now are going to a battery operated system. The old system was using hydraulic fluid going through hose lines, which you're tethered to the truck, which makes it more difficult. You have to turn on the electricity to that pump. You have to turn on the flow of hydraulics from that pump. It was time consuming, and this will make the extrication process more streamlined, quicker, and easier to go. We do have a few of the current tools that have been told that, yes, they are working, yes, they're in service, but if they do break, they're old enough now that the parts are not going to be able to be found, and they're kind of obsolete and need to be replaced anyway. So instead of continuing to go to that tethered system of the hydraulic tools, we're going with the battery operated tools, which they've made tremendous upgrades in them. They have the same power, they're about the same weight, and again, you're not tethered to your vehicle any longer.
I'd like to point out too that the volunteer fire companies that are along the interstate are responsible for responding to accidents on the interstate. The state doesn't really have any way to do that. And I know just in the past year, Stony Hill as well as Hollyville have responded to a number of vehicle excursions far off the highway where even using the old hose system would be very difficult or impossible. So this is a vast improvement in public safety.
I make a motion, we approve Stony Hill's purchase of their vehicle extrication kit. What was it, not to exceed 41,000?
41,965.
Not to exceed 41,965.
And I would second that, Bob.
There was a race between Nick and Robert. I'll give it to Robert this time. So we got a motion, we've got it seconded. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I think that was unanimous. All right, then over to, I believe, what Chief McCollum and the Bethel Fire Department ask.
Right, this is a request for 14 sets of turnout gear, $49,574, and I'll turn the floor to Chief McCollum.
Well, we've got a huge influx in membership. Bethel, for the first time in 20, 30 years, has run not one, but two Firefighter 1 state certification courses in the first 11 months of the year. We're in our second one now. The people from the first course, 6 of the 8 are fully certified now. The other 2 have one module to take, to test for. We don't see any problem with them getting certified. We have 10 from Bethel in the second course. Those courses, if you send people out of house, approximately $1,200 to $1,400 per student, plus books, plus testing. We're doing that at Bethel Fire for basically food and drink. And I bought the books at the beginning of the year, and our lead instructor, Bill McAllister, didn't let the students write in the books because the books are good for 4 years. So we made copies of what we needed to, and those books will be used for 4 years. Throughout, they're being used for the second time now, obviously in the second class. So, you know, the place we can't save money is gear. You have to give them all gear that's certified entry firefighter, you know, interior gear.
Can you just out of curiosity, because it sounds like it comes out to almost just shy of 4,000. What is that 4,000?
So what that covers is, that's why I have this with me. Yeah. So it's $3,541 a piece, and the full sets are helmet front, hood, which the hood, you can go with a hood that's $35, $40, or one that's upwards of 100.
Are you talking about a sock? Is that what
the hood? No, next to it or whatever. So quite frankly, I went with the upper one because the upper one is the new best one on the market for carcinogen and cancer protection. And I think that especially for us here in the town of Bethel, all the volunteers, I think we need to protect our members as best we can. So the hoods they're a little pricey, but I think that's the right way to go. Boots, gloves, suspenders, the coat, and the pants. So that's what we call a full set of bunker per person. And that's 14 cents to catch us up. And then we typically buy 6 sets a year. I know Chief Baker told me he buys 8 sets a year. If it continues, I may be buying 8 sets a year, but that'll be able to come out of the normal budget. Typically it does.
Bob, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 49,000. I'm sorry,
574.
574.
574.
Yep.
I second.
Do you have a second?
Brian seconded it.
All right. Oh, discussion.
Yeah. And again, guys, I like what you guys are doing. We're going to give you everything you guys need. You guys provide a heck of a service for this town. And I want to say thank you again. Every chance I have, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
What's the expected lifespan of these suits? I didn't hear that.
The gear is 10 years, Robert. That's by standard. We can't let them wear it any longer than that for interior firefighting. It can be used outside for training purposes, but it can no longer be used for an interior firefighter.
Any other questions or further discussion?
I'm just kind of curious about, because I don't know, and I apologize, but how many members do we have at each of the firehouses?
We're approaching 90 now. Bethel Fire is.
And are they all certified to go in?
There's firefighters and there's also EMTs that just do EMS, and then there's some administrative members who help us with stuff like this. They do that stuff for us, so that frees us up to not have to do that, which is great.
How many do you have?
We're approximately 40 combined fire EMS.
And do you have fire police too or not?
We do have fire.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, both departments do.
Yeah.
Hey,
to the community a little bit.
You're down.
Any more discussion or questions? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Looks like that was unanimous as well. All right, good deal. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Chiefs. Moving it down the agenda, we've got the consideration of the fiscal year 21 account transfers. Turn it over to Brad.
Thank you very much. So what was sent out to everybody was the recommended transfers for the end of the year. I will go through some notes for you of what some of these things are, just so you're aware of them. Three of the big things at the bottom, I'll go through those first. What we're planning on doing this year, or recommending to do, is fund the paramedic fund, an additional $100,000 in 2021 fiscal year. It was funded to the tune of, I believe, 275 or 300. So this additional 100,000 will help pay down what some of the paramedic fund owes the town. If you look at the chart on the bottom, you will see for the last 6 years, it has varied between, it's always been in the 400s. So what this extra 100,000 will do will get us down to 341 at year end. My recommendation would be to the board, any opportunity we have in the future to pay this down, it would be to pay it down over time. It does appear at the $300,000 funding amount yearly that it should break even over the lifespan of some years. It's going to be the good 20, 30,000, some years the other way, 20, 30,000. That does seem like a good number, but this is a good opportunity to cut into some of that debt that the paramedic fund owes the town without taking all of our surplus from on the expense side. The other thing that we are looking to take this opportunity to do is add another $400,000 to the CNR fund. So even with that $500,000 between the paramedic and the CNR, the surplus on the expense side this year, it will still be around $210,000, that will fall to the fund balance. We need to leave some room in there to make sure that any audit adjustments don't put us over. That's why we didn't take a bigger chunk of it towards the capital non-recurring or to the paramedic fund. The third note in there is every year, if the Board of Ed has any money left in there, operating fund. They could put up to a certain percentage, which I'm sure Terry would love to share with you, into their 1% unexpended fund. So this year they're taking $25,298.70 to take them to fully spending their operating budget for the year. Terry, do you want to add on that before we go through the rest of this?
No, that's accurate.
All right. So then if you just look at some of the bigger ticket items on here, I'll run through some of them and then leave it open to any questions. Professional services, legal fees were higher than budgeted. It seems like this happens every year. I know in the last budget, the Board of Finance did increase the budgeted amount for legal fees to try to get it closer to an accurate number. It does vary year over year. 2021 wasn't as bad as 2020, but it was still over budget. One of the big cases, I believe, for last year was the Duracell. We also had a number of union contracts that were being negotiated. The next thing you will see is town insurance. Was in a surplus position of $117,000. After we finished the budget, the workers' comp rate, they had told us it would probably be flat for the year, and they came in with a reduction. Our number, we've worked really hard as a town to keep our workers' comp numbers low. I will admit some of that was COVID and people were working from home, and we didn't have as many injuries in 2020. Park and recreation returned $222,000 based on the COVID shutdown. Employee benefits returned $372,000. A lot of that was the health insurance rate dropped after the budget. We're on the state plan, so we kind of have to wait till the state gives us their final number. They give us a preliminary increase for our budget season, and then the final one's not typically out until the budget's complete. There is also some savings in that from the contracts that we negotiated. Intergovernmental was up $90,000, but that's $100,000 additional to paramedic. Building and inspection was over by $42,000, most of which was salaries, which is due to the increased activity with the building department and all the work they've done to add online permitting. I will note that revenue for building and health permits we collected $177,000 more than we budgeted for revenue over the same time period. The police department was over by $137,000, most of which was salaries, and that was because the wages increase in the budget was in wage adjustments because the contract wasn't finalized at budget time. Health department was over by $129,000. Again, these are salaries. It's all the charges for all the vaccine clinics and everything else that the health department has done in 2021. Their offset of that is all the state and federal money that we got reimbursed is on the revenue side. So revenue for miscellaneous state income, which is where all that money went. I will tell you in a minute once I find this piece of paper. I know.
Are you driving? Are you driving and trying to find the piece of paper at the same time?
No, I've been parked on the side of the highway for the last hour.
Okay.
So, I guess the good and bad of being able to remote into the meeting is I didn't miss the meeting, but here I am on the side of the road flipping through papers. It is somewhere in here. I know the miscellaneous was way over. Miscellaneous state revenue was way over the $150,000 that we were over in the health department. I can't put my finger on it right now. Give me a second. Miscellaneous state income. That's the current month. All right, it was way over. I think it was like over $300,000 to the good, over budget. Let's see what else was big in here. The library returned almost $79,000. That was due to the COVID shutdown. Some of the public works accounts were over. Some of that is due to the contract being done and the adjustment was in wage adjustment. except for the Public Works Department, which was over budget on their engineering or contracted services by $63,000. Most of that was work done on planning for different grants. One of the big ones being the sidewalk grants that they've been applying for. Miscellaneous state income for 2021, we collected $415,000 more than had been budgeted. Just to circle back to that. The last thing I will point out is it looks like education maintenance was overspent by $40,000. That was a project that was approved from fund balance a couple years ago. Those are the last bills for it. We just tracked it this way to show it, and there's a couple different ways we could do it accounting wise. One of the ways is you just track the expenses in your operating budget and just let it fall out to the fund balance this way. We could have done a fund balance transfer, but we didn't for this amount of money. And we didn't need to at the end of the year. Anybody have any questions on anything else on that?
Brad, the money on the Parks and Recreation, was that because of activities or for maintenance? The
Parks and Rec, the 222, that is the credit on the transfers list. That's because the programs were shut down. Programs alone would have returned more than that. But if you remember, like the Park and Rec budget, they did all the staffing of the front desk person in the municipal center. They did all the touch point cleaning. They did extra cleaning of the parks, I believe. So that was just due to they weren't running programs. They didn't run summer camp. They didn't, they also had a lot less revenue because of it, but that was why they returned so much money. It's also why next week is the town meeting to approve the $100,000 to go back into Park and Rec this year, because we figured that they were going to return money this year.
There was some confusion, I think, and among some folks in town about that $100,000 number going to the special town meeting. I think this schedule just makes it very clear, right, that there was $222,000 of expenses that weren't incurred because COVID prevented Park and Rec from running the programs. That number falls through to the fund balance. And now in the third, fourth quarter of this year, we're going to pull that 100,000 out of the fund balance. So I think this kind of just makes a real stark explanation of where that money's coming from. Yeah, Cynthia.
I'm just curious, how did this trigger is a special town meeting? Did you say?
Yeah.
How did this trigger a special town meeting?
This board voted on it a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if that was a meeting that you missed, but this
I might not have been, no, I'm just wondering in general. So you voted on it, but what brought it to the table? Because it's not generally something that would require a special town meeting. That's all.
Mr. Chair, if I might chime in there.
Yeah, the president.
According to the town attorney, whenever an adjustment is going to be made to the budget on both the expense side and the revenue side, it's just like any other expenditure. You have, if it'll be subject to a special town meeting if it's over a certain amount. So that meeting is scheduled for 1 week from tonight on the 16th.
Okay, what's the amount that it should be over?
Well, we're adjusting per the Board of Finance's approval. I think which was last month, $100,000 back into Park and Rec. And then we're doing the same thing with the Highway Department. If you remember the budget presentation from last spring.
Yes, I do.
The highway construction account was cut down quite a bit. It was cut down to $500,000, and we are talking grant monies.
I remember.
So we're transferring $750,000 into the revenue to cover that. So both of those things will be on the docket for the town meeting a week from today.
Okay, no, thanks, Matt.
It came from a grant, right? It's not coming from the fund balance?
No, it's from a grant. It's our LoCIP funds, which it's like an account that accumulates over the years. And we can use it. It stands for Local Capital Improvement Program. So no, it doesn't hit fund balance or revenue.
Not like the Park and Rec.
Nope, correct.
All right, so entertain a motion to approve the transfers as Brad has outlined on his schedule. Somebody want to make that motion?
Make the motion.
All right, Delene's up. We got a second. Robert, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Good deal. Thank you, Brad, for that.
You're welcome.
Now, the next agenda item is the comptroller's report. So no relief, Brad. You're still on deck. You're still at the bat. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, I have nowhere to go right now, so I'm up. So the main update from last month's report is we did receive the first ECS payment. So if you're looking at the revenue numbers, the intergovernmental revenues now shows that we have collected roughly 25% of the year. I did mention at the last meeting that we anticipated getting it in October, and we did. So that's the big revenue ticket item. I will share with you that I got the collection numbers from the tax collector, and we are slightly ahead of pace from the prior month, not prior year, sorry. We are at 56% collected of the taxes for the year, which is something we just monitor every month just to make sure how we're trending correctly with our collections. On the expenditure side, the only one that looks out of whack is probate, which we talk about all the time. We get reimbursed by the other towns at the end of the year. Everything else looks like it's trending correctly. Town insurance, it looks like we've spent half of it, but we've made the first 2 quarterly payments because they're due in July and October. That is all.
Any questions for Brad?
Brad's report.
I'm sorry. Hey, Nick, say that again, please. I didn't hear you.
I would make a motion that we accept Brad's comptroller report.
All right. A second. Cynthia, are you seconding or do you have a question?
Seconding.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. That brings us to the end of tonight's agenda. Before we adjourn, I did want to just, on behalf of, I guess, me, just congratulate those folks who won membership to the Board of Finance. Thank you for being willing to put themselves out like that. Also, I want to thank the members of the class of 2017 who served well for the time they were on the board. Appreciate all that you did. Now, with that said, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Can we have a round of applause for our members, please? We do appreciate all the work they do.
All right. I think Robert raised his hand for an adjournment motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second. All righty. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, good deal. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye now.